And so it is our duty as advisors to bring them up into a helicopter view of things so that they can see further. And when you elevate them to a new level of understanding, they take new inspired actions. And this concept that I'll be sharing is the exact same concept that helped me break through to my COT last year. Do you know that a strong positioning is not really about the watch that you wear? It's not really about your accolades and your achievements, nor is it really about your years in business. All right, and I call it the attraction game sustainable success system. All right, taking the guesswork out of long-lasting success in financial advisory. A strong positioning is about making people feel safe. You know, back in 2012, and that was about 11 years ago, I was 21 years old. And I was preparing to go for my first day of school at NTU Art, Design and Media. They call it ADM. Have you guys heard of that school? Yes? Right, beautiful campus. One of the best faculties for arts in Singapore. And so, since young, I've always been passionate about art and design. And growing up, I wanted to become a creative director one day. And this day was that day. Right? I remember I was wearing a business attire. All right? I was walking into the first day of school, my class, and at the corner of my eye, I could see my classmates to be judging me. Because who in the right mind will wear a business attire into an arts class? But I was prepared. I was steady because I went there with one single objective. So I went into the class, I walked right to where the lecturer was. He was right in the front of the class taking attendance. And I ran my finger through the attendance list and I found my name. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Lecturer, this is me. And I'm quitting school." 15 minutes later, I was back at the foyer. He had sent me to the dean and the dean had approved of my departure. And I remember that day, it was a regular sunny day. It was calm and peaceful at the foyer. And then I picked up my phone and I called my mom. And I said, "Hey, Ma, I just quit school. And I'm going to become a full-time financial consultant." So between school and advisory, I picked advisory. And at that moment, it was like a burning the boats moment for me. Because my highest qualification is A-levels. Even until today, it's A-levels, right? And you know they don't really recognize A-levels in Singapore, do they? Right? So you can say my highest qualification now is still O-levels, all right? And I hope this story gave you a bit of a backstory to why I do what I do and why this business this financial advisory business, how I see it is not just about success, but very much about sustainable success, right? And I'd like to start off this keynote with a first question for you guys, which is, how would you catch a butterfly? How would you catch a butterfly? The simple answer is with great difficulty, all right? Because, for one, you can start using a butterfly net and start looking for them, all right? It is going to be a tiring process, I swear. And we have to be careful not to scare them away. And when we approach a butterfly this way, one thing is for sure. It may be harder for them to come back. And it may be harder for them to bring their friends over. And if I can draw a parallel to our business, many of us, we use a sales script and we start looking for clients, all right? And when it's going to be a tiring process, I swear, and we have to be careful not to scare them away. And when we approach a client this way, one thing is for sure, it may be harder for them to come back and it may be harder for them to bring their friends over. But what if there is a better way to do this? What if we can move from catching butterflies to building a garden? Build a beautiful garden and fill it up with beautiful flowers. And you should attract butterflies naturally, right? Yes, it's still going to be a tiring process, but only at the start, because once a garden is built, you just have to maintain it, all right? And if the butterflies like the place enough, they bring their friends over, right? And best yet, if the butterflies love the garden so much, they choose to lay eggs, and you will have the next generation of butterflies in your garden, right? The butterflies keep coming back again and again. Okay, so on one end, when you are catching butterflies, what happens is that the butterflies become the goal. And on the other hand, when you're building a garden, the butterflies become a natural byproduct. You get what I mean? All right. So today, I'd like to share my own interpretation on how to build a beautiful garden. All right. And I call it the attraction game sustainable success system. All right. Taking the guesswork out of long-lasting success in financial advisory. I hope you guys are excited as I am to begin. Yes? Yes. Okay. If you are, can you do me a favor? I'd like you to turn to your neighbor and say, your future is going to be very bright. Do it now. And I would like you to turn to the next neighbor now and tell him, but my future is going to be brighter than yours. All right, let's begin, shall we? All right. There are 5 P's. There are 5 P's in my own interpretation on how to build a beautiful garden. The first P, we need a magnetic personal brand. The second P, we need a strong positioning. The third P, we need an ongoing presence. The fourth P, we need a fitting partnership. And then the last P, we need a giving philosophy. So let me start with the first P, which is a magnetic personal brand. Now, what is a magnetic personal brand, you might say? Well, in my own interpretation, I think magnetic personal brand means it's the sale before the sale. You selling yourself without selling yourself, right? And I think that a magnetic personal brand can help us accomplish 3 things. In fact, there are 3 A's. The first A is it builds you up to be an authority, okay? And number 2, it helps you to amplify. And number 3, it helps you to attract, right? So definitely you want to be an authority because on the opposite end of authority, you have what you call a commodity, right? And what do you mean by authority versus commodity? In my opinion, an authority means you are being seen as one of a kind. You're unique, you stand out. And a commodity would be the opposite direction, which is you are seen as one and the same. There's no difference between you and the advisor next to you, right? And when you're an authority, people treat your words like gold. But when you are a commodity, even though you may say the same exact words, people treat your words like what? Loose change, right? So I asked my son to go and sleep that night. Go to bed now. And he ignores me. And then the mama comes out and says, go to bed now. He ran for his dear life. So you know the difference between an authority and a commodity, and you know how much authority now I have at home. And then I'm going to move on to the next one, which is when you are being seen as an authority, people see you generally like an influencer, right? They are drawn towards you. They want to be close to you. But if you are being seen as a commodity, people treat you like influenza. They want to stay away from you. And then last but not least, when you're on authority, people generally come forward to confirm the deal and not just to consider. And that's the power of authority. You know, I hired Kent, case in point, to be my videographer for today. All right, Kent, where are you? So that's Kent. All right, and when Irene invited me to be the keynote speaker for today, by the way, I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks because of this. She also suggested that I hire my own videographer, and so I did. And immediately I thought of Kent, right? Because he did such an amazing job for my best friend's wedding. You know, I was very impressed by the montage and the teaser video, and he did a lot of amazing work for other couples as well. And so I hopped on a conversation with Ken. I said, hey, can you do this for me? We had a discussion, and then he quoted me a price. To which I said, Kent, just take my money. And so he did. He took my money. And what the point I'm trying to drive at is that he is being perceived as an authority in my eyes, right? And when I came over to him, I already knew I wanted him to be my videographer, right? And I said, take my money. I'm here to confirm the deal with you. All right, so that's an example. And next is amplify. Can everyone take a look at the microphone that I'm holding right now? What is it doing for me? It is amplifying my voice, isn't it? Right? Can you imagine the rest of this keynote without this microphone? Can the last person hear me? But still can. But it's more powerful with a microphone, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think I can last throughout the whole keynote with that kind of volume, right? So this microphone is giving me what? It's giving me an added volume and added reach, right? I'm still using the same volume of voice that I'm speaking to one person, but because of a microphone, I get to speak to 500 today, right? So that is the power of a magnetic personal brand, because when you have a personal brand, it acts like a microphone that helps you to amplify. It becomes your multiplier. Does it make sense so far? Yes? Right. And what else multiplies very quickly? A long queue, especially for us Singaporeans. Is that correct? What do Singaporeans like to do when we see long queues? We join in the queue, especially outside a restaurant. Right? We go, wow, that food must be good. Right? And I'm going to join in and try. All right? We assume the food is good already by means of the long queue that we see. So what is the learning lesson here? The learning lesson is that a long queue brings more queue, and a crowded restaurant brings more crowd, right? So if people see that you are doing a good job, and they can see it online especially, you are given that added volume and reach, and people generally draw themselves and gravitate themselves towards you. Okay, so this is my take on a magnetic personal brand. To summarize, helps you to become an authority, it amplifies you, and it helps you attract. Is everyone okay so far? All right, can I move on to the second P? All right, the second P is a strong positioning. So can I ask you guys, what do you think is a strong positioning to you? Do you know that a strong positioning is not really about the watch that you wear? It's not really about your accolades and your achievements, nor is it really about your years in business, right? I think strong positioning has a higher element to that, right? To me, in my own interpretation, in my opinion, a strong positioning is about making people feel safe. It is about making people feel safe, right? And how do we make people feel safe? This is my take on how we can do it. It is the way we approach them, the way we choose to serve and not to sell, and we communicate upfront to them what to expect. So let me talk about the first one, the approach, right? Now, would you agree with me that if you approach a client via a roadshow, the response will be back away and avoid, right? Now, if you approach a butterfly via a butterfly net, it will be likely the same response, right? So when it comes to approach, on one hand, we have clients who, needs a push to take actions. Now, most people needs a push to take action, especially financial planning. And on the other hand, people don't like pushy advisors. True? Right? So how do we get out of this dilemma? Because if we were to maintain passive, our clients become passive as well and nothing gets done. But if we push them too hard, then they push back twice as hard. Right? So how do we get out of this dilemma? How do we get out of this situation where it pulls us from opposite directions? Now, I believe there's a middle ground that we can stand. Right? And the middle ground, I call it the gentle authority. Just like Goldilocks and the three bears, the porridge is neither too hot nor too cold, but just has the right temperature. Okay, so we're not an order taker to them, are we? Nor are we policy pushers. We are not, there to be their servant, nor are we here to be a dictator. So I believe we can position ourselves as a gentle authority where we lead them with firmness, but we act with gentleness. Right? So I believe that is the sweet spot to which we can stand, and I call it gentle authority. And if we can do that, I believe you can make your clients feel safe. Then the next thing is that, of course, our intention to serve and not to sell. Right? Just like the same example of the, catching the butterflies versus building a beautiful garden, can we all agree that generally a butterfly feels safer flying around a garden than flying around butterfly nets? Yes? So it's the same thing, right? If you position yourself with an intention to nurture, an intention to serve, won't the clients feel more at ease and feel safe as opposed to selling them? Is that true? But here's the kicker then. Have we communicated that intention to them? Right? We have the intention internally, but have we communicated that intention externally to them? That makes a world of difference, because if you don't communicate your intention to serve, people generally second your intention to sell. Right? If you don't communicate your intention to be an advisor, people naturally assume, as skeptical as we are, that we are here to be a salesperson. Yes? Right? So have we done our part to communicate that to them? Or did we just simply assume they can read our minds and they know our intentions? Right? So having one intention is one thing, but being able to communicate that to our clients is another. Right? And then third, which is, will you agree with me that generally people feel safer if they know what to expect ahead of time in any given situation? All right? Won't people feel generally safer if they know what to expect ahead of time in a given situation? Let me give you an example. Now, would you feel safe if your doctor just rolls you up into an operating theater and cuts you up without telling you much? Or would you prefer that your doctor walks through with you the pre-surgery, post-surgery, how much the bill is likely going to be, and what are the chances of success? Right? So have we done our part to communicate what to expect to our clients to make them feel safest? Now, can I share with you my exact script on how I make my clients feel safe? Right? Especially in the first appointment. I hope there's some takeaways here. I'll ask him, Mr. Client, is it okay I share with you how I usually work with my clients? So I ask for permission first, right? And he says yes. Then I'll continue saying that, hey, I usually work with my clients over 3 appointments. And today is the first appointment. Right? Today is the first appointment where I'll ask you a lot of questions to understand more about yourself. And I'll take this understanding back home and create a recommendation for you in which I'll send you before we meet for the second time, so that you can take some time to study the recommendations and prepare any questions from me. And we'll have a more productive second appointment. And then we enter the second appointment, which is usually a week away. That's where we will deep dive into the recommendations. We will answer any concerns that you may have, and we make any tweaks if we need. If everything is okay on the second appointment, then we move to the third appointment, which is usually another week away, and that is the implementation appointment and follow-through appointment. I don't say closing, of course. And that is where we usually put in our health declaration, fill out the application form, and we send to the insurer. Is everything okay so far? Now, what I've just done is that I've communicated to my clients my 3-step process, which is understand, recommend, and implement. And once he says yes, once he has given me a verbal confirmation or not, what he is trying to say is that if you have done your job well for the first 2 appointments, I will be there for the third one. So you don't need any closing scripts per se, or you don't have to close him in the heat of the moment, on the spot, and you don't have to worry that he'll go MIA. Because the truth is that he has already agreed with you to follow through in this 3-step process. It could be 2 steps for you, whatever makes you comfortable, but have you communicated that to him, right? So for my example, sometimes I have clients whose third appointment was 1-2 months later, a bit further away. The application still went through. And sometimes I have clients, very rare, but they are not in the right time and space to kickstart the implementation, even though the first 2 was done well. And they actually turn up for the third appointment to personally tell me so, in which I appreciate so much. They turn up in the Zoom appointment and tell me, hey, Tyler, I think, this is good, but I cannot do it right now because of these reasons. Can we follow up in 2024? I appreciate so much. And I think that the client will only do that when they feel safe enough to express themselves. All right? So this is my interpretation on how you can give yourself a strong positioning, approach them well with gentle authority, have the intention to serve and not to sell, and communicate that intention to them. And last but not least, tell them what to expect ahead of time, especially in the first appointment, before even you start your planning process. That is the kicker. You have to do this, communicate to them before you start anything. Okay? And if you can make your clients feel safe, you exchange for yourself a strong positioning. Is everything okay so far? Ken, let me move on to the third P, which is an ongoing presence. It is as simple as ABC, all right? Because it is annual reviews, followed by broadcast, followed by client events. And at this point, you tell me, Teller, I know all about this already, right? I'm already doing annual reviews, broadcasts, and I'm also doing client events. So can you tell me something that I don't already know? Now, can I ask you a question back? Can I have a show of hands? How many of you here find it difficult to do annual reviews with your clients? Either they don't reply your messages, or they tell you they've bought enough insurance already. Can I have a show of hands? Okay, a couple of you. All right, do you know why this happens? Can I share with you my own take on this? All right. Could it be that we have not communicated the value of the review process right from the get-go? The clients don't really understand why they need to even do annual reviews in the first place. And hence they brush it off. Wouldn't it be nice if we can help our clients get excited about annual reviews, and best yet, they chase us for annual reviews? Can I share with you my script on how I do it? All right. So I tell my clients, Mr. Client, and I do this script right after the 3-step process. I continue my script and I tell him, hey, Mr. Client, you know, I've just gone through with you the 3-step process. Understand, recommend, implement. Now that's one cycle of financial planning, but you know how much we can accomplish in one cycle? Not a lot. Because financial planning is very broad. It spans across 3 pillars: protection, accumulation, and distribution. So we're going to comb through this cycle across the 3 pillars of financial planning. It seems like we're going to work together for a long, long time. So I pause here and tell you that I tell my clients this so that they understand that our journey is not over after one appointment or after one cycle. Then I continue. I tell him that your annual reviews, whatever we cannot finish today, we will continue in future annual reviews. Whatever we cannot complete today, which we will definitely not be able to complete, we will continue in future annual reviews. And when is your annual reviews? It'll be held on your birthday month. It'll be held in your birthday month. Now, why birthday month, you might ask? Because you won't forget your birthday, ma? I won't forget your birthday also, because I will put your birthday in my Google Calendar or Merlin. And when it's your birthday, I will do 2 things. Number 1, I will text you happy birthday. And number 2, I will remind you it's time for annual reviews. So this is the exact same script that I tell my clients right before even we start our planning process, to mind stage him for a long, long journey together. And can you imagine you do that for 300 clients? If you have about 300 clients, 365 clients, you'll be very, very busy, because you have to meet every single one of them during their birthday months and comb through the 3 pillars of financial planning, which you're going to do for a long, long time. Right? So that is how maybe you can prep your clients to prepare them for annual reviews in the future. And I have clients who tell me that, hey, Teller, it's my birthday already. Why you haven't do annual reviews? I'm sorry. Let me get to you. So I have clients who chase me for annual reviews because of what I said. Then of course now I feel stressed because I find it difficult to finish every single review with them. But I have the opportunity. and I don't find myself having leads issue. Second is broadcast. Mr. Client, I'll put you in my broadcasts also so that you know I'm still alive. And I'll also keep you updated so that you're always in the know. Can I do that for you? He says yes. Then I'll move on to the third one. Can I also put you in, or can I also reach out to you whenever I have client events? And there are really two main client events, education and appreciation. So if there are fitting ones, am I able to reach out to you and invite you over? The client says yes. Now, you have been doing all of these along, so it's not about the execution, actually. It is about the setup, right at the onset. Does it make sense? Right? If we were to communicate this to our clients right at the onset, and we get their verbal permission to do so, what happens is that they give you their permission to be present. Right? Many of us, maybe we have not asked for permission or communicated this right at the get-go, and hence when we try to execute later, we find it difficult. But if you prepare them ahead of time, they are ready for you. Okay, so ongoing presence, 3 things: annual reviews, broadcasts, and clients, events, but most importantly, to communicate that right at the first appointment when you meet this person for the first time. Everyone okay so far? Right, let me move on to the next one. A fitting partnership. That's the 4th P. All right, and fitting partnership will really just be 2 filters, internal and external filters. Now, would you agree with me that as much as our clients choose us, we have the rights to choose our clients as well? Yes? Right? And there are 2 filters here. One is internal, one is external. Internal means you don't tell that to your clients. It's an internal measurement. You keep this to yourself. But external is something that you can communicate to your clients that you are looking for this kind of people to work with. Right? And internal, if I can move into, is the acronym PAP. Right? Profitable, attitude, and partnership. And this PAP acronym, I learned it from my great friend Andy Ang from EXO. Andy, can you wave your hand so everyone can see you? Wave it. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I knew Andy for a long time when we attended some external courses outside, and back when I was still in a previous insurer. And when I came over to finexis, I reconnected with him, and I've always been reaching out to him and ask him how he does his advisory process, and I find that there's a lot to learn from him. And that's how we roll in finexis. Yes, we help each other up and we rise. We help each other rise. Okay, and so he taught me this PAP concept, which makes so much sense to me, because what is P? Profitable means, does it make business sense for you to work with these clients at this point in time in your career? Number 2, does this person have any similar shared outlook in life? Does he share similar values as yourself? Is he generally a nice person to work with? And number 3, are there common mutual expectations between you and your client about your roles and responsibilities? Right? And of course, you don't tell, this is an internal filter. You don't go to your client and say, hey, are you profitable? Do you have a good attitude or not? And do you want to partner me? Right? We don't do that. Right? This is something we keep to ourselves. Internal measurement. But we have an external one. All right? The one that you can tell your clients. All right? And it goes, this is my own external filter. I tell my clients or prospects that, hey, in the first appointment, I tell him, I work best with senior level professionals and corporate leaders. All right? And I work best with people with families and they're usually strongly rooted in family values. And I also work best with people who are here to do full planning and not piecemeal or a la carte planning. Right? If we are a good fit, I'm very happy to work with you. But if you think that we're not good fits, I'm very happy to refer you to the next best advisor that can help you. Okay, so this is, a PAP versus my own external filter, right? A fitting partnership. And if you can get a fitting partnership, if you and your client can align right from the get-go, it just means that you start off the advisory relationship smoother than ever before. Okay? Last but not least is a giving philosophy. And you just remember BTS. Not the Korean boy band, of course, but big picture, teach, don't sell, and keep it simple. B, T, and S. I have a client recently who asked me, and I'm sure many of you face the same objections as well. Hey, Tyler, why should I invest in a long-term endowment with you when currently the fixed Ds and the T-bills are giving such great interest, especially in this great high interest rate environment? And so I asked him back the question. I asked him, bro, is this 100,000 of yours in a short-term bucket, or in your mid-term bucket, or in your long-term bucket? To which he was stunned by my question. And I continued to ask him, or I continued to tell him, hey, Mr. Klein, today, if you tell me that this 100,000 of yours is in your short-term bucket, which means you need the money within 5 years, then I say, by all means, put your money into T-bills and fix these because you're going to need that liquidity. But today, if you tell me that your money is sitting inside your mid-term bucket or your long-term bucket, then don't put your money into T-bills and fix these. Because these products, they mature very quickly, and what you're going to face very soon will be reinvestment risk. Does it make sense? Right? And what if the high interest rate environment goes away? Where are you going to put your money? So the first question is not about which instrument gives me the best returns. The first question would be, where is your money sitting? Short-term, mid-term, or long-term? Once we have identified that, back to the drawing board, then we find the relevant instruments within the buckets and we help you deploy. Does it make sense? And then he says, yes, it makes sense. He got the idea, and I'm happy to say that he went ahead with my recommendations. All right. So sometimes, our clients, they are just too busy with the day-to-day that they cannot see beyond what's in front of them, right? They have a family, they have a career that they're climbing. They cannot see what's beyond in front of them. And so it is our duty as advisors to bring them up into a helicopter view of things so that they can see further. And when you elevate them to a new level of understanding, they take new inspired actions. And if we can communicate our ideas simply, that even a 10-year-old can understand, that has always been my measurement on how simple things can be. If a 10-year-old can understand, most people should be able to. Then generally the clients move along with the recommendations fast. All right? Wouldn't you agree with me that while people avoid salespeople, they generally seek wise counsel? Right? So if we can do that, the butterflies keep coming back again and again into your garden. All right, so that's the 5th P, which is a giving philosophy. And to summarize, there are 5 P's here. My own interpretation on how to build a beautiful garden. The first one will be a magnetic personal brand and strong positioning, followed by an ongoing presence, a fitting partnership, and last but not least, a giving philosophy. And at this moment, you tell me, Tyler, you just gave me a huge elephant. How am I going to digest this? Right? Especially this is final sprint. Right? So in view of final sprint, I'm going to guide you on your first bite to the elephant. Because how you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Right? I'm going to guide you to take your first bite on an elephant. And it's using the 5th P, which is a giving philosophy. BTS. All right? And this concept that I'll be sharing is the exact same concept that helped me break through to my COT last year. And also, many of my FCs use the same concept to find breakthroughs. All right? I call it the lazy money concept. The lazy money concept. Okay? And there are only 5 simple steps. So I try to make it as simple as possible so that you can execute in the last 3 months of final sprint. Number 1, in the last 3 months, go back to as many clients as you can and guide them through a net worth and cash flow exercise. Okay, so that's step number 1. Simple. Okay, step number 2, help them to find their lazy money. Now, what is lazy money, you say? You teach your client, Mr. Client, your lazy money will be money or extra cash that you have sitting around doing nothing beyond what you need for the next 5 years. Okay, your lazy money will be money that is sitting around, extra cash, not doing anything for you beyond what you need for the next 5 years. And if your money continue to sit there, they're going to rot, right? And you should not be working harder than your money. Your money should be working hard for you. So let's find out this lazy money. And these are the two places that you can find their cash savings and their monthly surplus. So when you walk through this net worth and cash flow, find these two places, identify their lazy money for them. Step 3, you tell them, all your lazy money now are sitting inside the short-term bucket, right? Which is not doing extra for you. And you don't need this money within 5 years. So I'm going to help you to redistribute your money across to the mid-term bucket and the long-term bucket. And to be clear, short-term bucket is anything 5 years and below, mid-term bucket 5 to 20, and then long-term bucket 20 years and above. For this timeline, you can identify or determine yourself. But this is my own timeline about my own buckets that I communicate to my clients. So what you're trying to do is that you're trying to bring out money from the short term and redistribute them accordingly to the different buckets. And you tell Mr. Client, so that every season of your life, you will have money. They cannot just be sitting in your short-term bucket doing nothing for you. 4th step, Mr. Client, there's only one rule that you should abide by when you're doing this redistribution. One rule, and I need you to abide by this rule. Do not mix the buckets. Do not mix the buckets. Now, what I mean by do not mix the buckets will be, for example, this client placed $1,000 of his lazy money into long-term bucket. And he found this $1,000 from his monthly surplus. You tell your clients, this $1,000 should be money that you don't need in the mid-term and don't need in the short term. And when you redistribute your money into mid-term bucket, it should be money that you don't need in the short term. Do not mix the buckets. And what this means is that once he has placed his money in the respective buckets, he is essentially telling you that I have $1,000 now in my long-term bucket that I don't need for the next 20 years. Please help me find the relevant instruments to help me to grow in the direction. Now, if he gave you another $1,000 in the midterm bucket, he's telling you also, I don't need this money for the next 5 years. I have a 5 to 20 year time horizon, right? So you tell him to do this properly, following this one rule of do not mix the buckets, and you will have the budget in these buckets. And last but not least, deploy it for them. Once they have reassigned these monies into the different buckets, you help them to find the relevant instrument within the buckets and invest for them based on their risk profiles and their goals. So usually I tag this together with retirement planning, right? But of course, retirement planning is a big topic altogether. I thought I'd show you one concept that I do. And I don't find any objections anymore when I recommend a long-term investment plan. Because he told me that he can put the money here for 20 years untouched. So I take this budget and I find the relevant instruments for him. I don't face any objections or concerns anymore because this is done at the get-go. All right, so I hope this concept has helped you because many of the instruments that you're going to deploy from here are going to come out from GIOs, right? And hopefully they can give you a final boost in final sprint because GIOs, you don't need medical underwriting. It can go through faster, all right? And yep, okay, this is me. My name is Jia Le. You can call me Kalok as well. A bit confused about that myself. And I wish you good luck and Godspeed for the final sprint. Thank you very much.